thank you for being here tonight. We do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules, because we know everyone has a busy schedule, and making time to come here. We do appreciate it. We do want to talk to you a little bit tonight about the upcoming millage. As you know, early voting has started, and the election date is September 14th. So we are here. But let's get started. Talk to you a little bit about our process and things that have happened. So we began with our master plan 6 years ago. 2016 was really a starting point for us. We were looking at our buildings on campus because as a school district you have to do a master plan, you have to talk about, well, not just talk about it, you have to submit a written plan about what you're going to do with your buildings. And you have to talk about maintenance, you have to talk about how you're going to take care of any problems that you have. And so it is a plan that is laid out. And so we were looking at Alma Spikes and then the high school. One of our problems at both buildings was lack of space. And Alma Spikes was the oldest of the buildings, and we began there, but also we began because it was in need of repair. A lot of things just, naturally were just getting older. As you try to repair them, sometimes they would break. Instead of being able to just fix a leak, you had to replace pipes and things like that. But it was also where we were seeing the most growth. And so we decided to work with Alma Spikes first to rebuild the building we're currently in. So we had a two-phase process. The first one, to build this new elementary. As I said, you are here now. So phase one has been completed, and we are moving to phase two. Some questions that we get asked are, well, one of them is, well, why didn't you ask for the entire millage in the beginning? And the response to that is, first of all, being fiscally responsible. And we wanted to make sure that we were asking for the correct amount. We also did not want to ask for too little and then have to come back and ask for more. We wanted to make sure that we knew how much money that we would be receiving from partnership funding, or if we would even receive any from partnership funding from the state. And so later we did find out that we would receive partnership money, so we were glad we didn't ask for it all in the beginning, because it would have been too much of an ask at that time. Our program of requirements drives everything. It's called our POR. The POR is what the state requires. It talks about classroom size, it talks about how many classrooms you need, cafeteria, library, and those kind of things. So it lays out what we can expect to get with our building project. The POR drives everything. Like I said, it's aligned with the state standards, aligned with state facilities, however you want to say it. That is where we go to. And you may say, well, if your current buildings do not meet those standards, well, how are you doing that? Well, our current buildings, the main building of the high school is grandfathered in because it was already here. So it is grandfathered in, and even though the classroom size does not meet the state standards, we are allowed to use it because those were the buildings we were already in when those standards changed. So as we look at where to begin, we have to think about the conditions, like I said, of the buildings. We have to go through, we have to look. It's not just, oh, let's get a new building, but we have to look at the needs. And we also have to have a long-range plan. We're not just building for tomorrow. We're not just building for next year. We are building long-term. And as you know, the buildings that we're currently in are very old. So we do take good care of our facilities, but there does come a point where sometimes those facilities have to be updated. And our long-range vision, we're looking at 10, 20, 30 years that we want our buildings to be in place and, like I said, be good stewards of taxpayer money and good stewards for our children. We are now in the building, like I said, where phase 1 has been completed. We have given tours of the building, and I will say this, if you would like to see the building and you haven't, just let us know, and we will take you on a tour tonight after this. But we are in the building, and I guarantee you, if you would talk to the teachers who have come from Alma Spikes to this building, there is a great difference in classroom size, the facilities, and the needs that are being met. Why build a new high school now? Well, because we have run out of space. We do not have classrooms available. We are actually using 2 labs, science labs, as classrooms right now. We also have some teachers, and I'm going to repeat some of this because I get too involved and I start telling you everything. But we also have teachers who are housed at the junior high. We have a couple teachers housed there because we do not have room for them at the high school. We also were allocated, as we said, partnership funding that we received a little over $9 million for this project. And there has been some conversation about, well, you know, what happens if this millage doesn't pass. If it doesn't pass at this time, that $9 million really does go away. It was granted to us, and we had an 18-month period to allocate it, and so we're at that point right now. We also know building costs. Any of you in building, you know that building costs fluctuate, and so we don't know what tomorrow holds with building costs. Also, interest rates are at their current low, a historical low, and we want to take advantage of that if we can. Also, we do plan to house grades 9 through 12 in the high school. For those of you who may not know, because things have changed over time, the high school now only houses grades 10 through 12. And it would be great from a principal's perspective, and I'm sure Mr. Green's perspective, that if you have 9th grade in that building with your 10th through 12th graders, it gets that mindset going already of, oh, I've got to be earning credits, and you know, I'm making decisions about my future. Because it is a little bit different whenever you're still at the junior high and you're still in that mentality. So, I mean, that's just a bonus. But also having the 9th grade with the 10th through 12th grade, we do share teachers. And there are some 9th grade teachers who do have, you know, it's kind of like college classes. Sometimes you have freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, all in the same class, depending on the classes. And so whenever you have that, that's kind of what we run into sometimes with our 9th grade teachers. Sometimes they do have some upperclassmen in their classes, so that means kids going back and forth even more, which is kind of a security issue. All right, so what do we need the village, even though we may be receiving funding and we have saved several $million to put toward this? Well, there are still some needs, and that's where the millage comes in, 3.44. And it is to help pay so that we can complete the high school project. I'm going to talk to you about this chart just really quickly here. This is a question that a lot of people have. And when you're talking about your taxes, a lot of people just think that you are looking at just real estate, but you're also looking at property tax. But you are not taxed on this amount. Let's say, you know, if you have a $100,000 home, $25,000 vehicle, you might have the appraised value of $125,000. However, you are assessed on 20%. So it's not the full $125,000. Now, the rest of this, I think it's interesting, but I think those last 2 columns are the most important. So we proposed 36.25 meals per year would cost you $906.25 if you follow that category. However, there is a homestead property tax, which also reduces this amount. And then it would bring you down to $531.25. And then if you look at your annual tax from the previous levied millage of 32.81, it's $86. And like I said, that's an annual tax, but if you break it down with the 3.44 new mills, you're looking at like $7.17. So I think sometimes when you look at big picture and breaking it down, it makes a difference. And like I said, I think probably in our community, a lot of people would fall kind of in this area. Of course, there's going to be some more, some less, but it is based on real estate and personal property. I already talked about that, so I'm going to skip over that. So the construction process, what is that going to look like? When we begin, there will be a tearing down of some of the facilities. So the question is, what do you do with your kids? Because we have to put them somewhere. So we have met, principals have met, we've talked, and what we have planned to do is to transition our kids by moving them into different buildings, but we are still going to be able to use some of the buildings that we have. We still have the newer math science wing that has the brand new labs that are being used as classrooms, but we have that, which will give us about 6 classrooms if you count the 2 labs. And the construction company said, yes, we can work that out. So that will give us 6 classrooms during that process. We have a family and consumer science building that is closest to the admin building. It is used as 1 classroom right now, but it has what we call a foods lab, which has the kitchen and laundry and all that. But we can make that into a classroom temporarily, and the other side be used as a classroom as well. So it gives us 2 more classrooms. We will still have use of our business building, which is across the road there from the high school, and we'll still have access to our ag building. So we will have some classroom space. However, we are going to have to kind of get a little bit closer and make probably some tight adjustments with the junior high and MD Williams, and use some rooms that maybe are not right now being used as classrooms, like student centers, classrooms that are being used as study hall, shift those a little bit and use those as classrooms. So we have gone through it and looked through everything, and we do think that we can keep our kids here within the well, not here, I'm thinking over there, there in that campus, and not have our kids all spread out everywhere, because that's, as a superintendent, but also as principal's perspective, I would rather know that my kids are close than being spread out during this process. So that is what we have looked at. I told you a little bit about the first 2 there, so I'm going to skip on down to the cafeteria. Our cafeteria currently is not large enough to hold all of our kids grades 10 through 12. And before COVID, what we would do is we would have some of our students in the cafeteria, and then some of our students would be outside, weather permitting. If it was raining or too cold, they couldn't do that, but we had a courtyard area where they could go eat. And then they would also go down to the gym lobby area. We have some tables down there that they can sit in. And then we also open up our study hall and let them eat there. So our kids are kind of spread out during lunchtime. With COVID, we have actually had to open up some classrooms. And I think, Mr. Green, you'll have 2 classrooms you're eating in now. So they're actually eating in 2 classrooms and a cafeteria and the study hall. So they've got them really spread out now with the social distancing. And they also have 2 separate lunches as well to try to meet that need. As I said, we share teachers, 9th graders come up to the high school students go to the junior high, and it's just kind of a back and forth. So getting everybody kind of under one roof would be just really nice. But right now we don't have the space to bring them all together. Security is a big issue, and just in the high school main buildings there, we have 9 entrances, and you may not think about that, but I assure you, if you're in that building, you do think about it a little bit, because you're always thinking, okay, I need to know who's coming in and out of the building. And in the world when that building was built, it was okay to have all those entrances, But in the world we live in today, that's probably not the best idea, because you want, our kids to be safe, but we can't have somebody posted at 9 different entrances throughout the day, and so that is a security issue. We do have the doors locked. They can get out, but we have the doors locked, and then we have the main entrance where they can come in and go through the building that way. But doors don't always close properly. Somebody could, prop a door and people not know it, and that could happen. We have had people walk in on campus that walked into the classroom of one of the outer buildings, and they weren't one of our students. So, it really does happen. Not often, but it has happened. Maintenance cost, the buildings are older, plumbing, electrical, those kind of things, the structure itself, and I'm talking about, that home and building. I have a video that I'll show you here in just a little bit so that you can see some of the problems that we're talking about, because it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to see it. And anytime anyone wants to go on a tour, I'm sure Mr. Green or I would be willing to take you on one of those tours. Best time to go is when it's raining. But the maintenance cost really can add up. These are just some numbers here. Cafeteria being the oldest, built in 1932, the buildings have depreciated. And I am going to introduce Grayson Bigger to you. I think most of you know her. Grayson is going to bring you kind of the look from a community aspect and how the school and the community work together.
Thank you for giving me a little bit of time this evening. And I know some of you have been here before, and I appreciate you listening to my spiel again. My name is Grayson Bigger. I worked with the NEA Intermodal, and I know people think education. I thought you were job creation. And what I really focus on in my day-to-day work and what our board focuses on are three main things, and that is infrastructure, education, and job creation, which all tie in together. And I kind of have a unique experience when working in economic development to see how important our schools are. But I can assure you that schools are really the heart of this community and every community, and we're so lucky to have the school district that we do and to have the higher education options that we do right here in Pocahontas. And as we go through that economic development process, I can assure you every single time when people land here, they've been looking at a community for a long time. They know the statistics, they know the numbers back and forth, probably better than most people who live here do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. And when they make it here, they want to talk to very specific people when they come to the community. A lot of times, they want to see the public works director, so water department. They want to talk to the mayor. They want to talk to the county judge. But they also want to talk to higher ed, and they want to talk to K-12. And for two different reasons. Number one, they want to know if they bring employees here, whether it is skilled labor or even their higher-ups, that their spouses, that their children are going to have opportunities here. So they want to know that their families are going to be taken care of, that they're bringing into the community. They also want to know what's going on in the school system. And they want to be able to track what high school students are doing. Used to be 7th and 8th grade was what they were really interested in, because that's the next generation of their workforce. But now it's gotten even younger, to the point where they're looking at what 5th graders are doing, because that's when CTE funding really starts. So they want to know what's going on in the schools, and they want to visit the schools. And I am so proud of our school district that sometimes our buildings do not match what we preach and what we are capable of. And it can be eye-opening for people, because when they also look at schools, they say, if this is as good as it gets, if this is what you're really proud of in the community, what else is there? And so we don't want to overspend, but we want to ensure that industry is impressed, that they're comfortable, and that they're happy bringing people here, and that they are confident they've got the next generation of workforce. Because quite frankly, we are at a historic labor shortage that we've never seen before. Not just in Pocahontas, not just in Northeast Arkansas, everyone's dealing with it. If you haven't, and I know you've seen the signs everywhere that say help wanted, jobs available. That's not unusual, but Northeast Arkansas is really feeling that crunch more than most states are right now. I was in a meeting today with Jonesboro and Paragould and Wynn and Walnut Ridge and Sharp County, and looking around, and we're all facing these issues to the point where you're seeing all of these communities going to be making a significant investment in workforce development and talent recruitment over the next 10 years. And that was really brought on by the map that you see behind me, the census results. We were extremely lucky during the last census period. Pocahontas grew pretty significantly to the point where it really surprised everybody down in Little Rock. There were only 3 counties in which their county seat and the county itself grew over the last 10 years in eastern Arkansas, not Northeast Arkansas, eastern Arkansas. And those 3 counties are Randolph, Craighead, and Greene. That's it. Pocahontas grew by almost 12%. We also became much more diverse, which is a good thing for recruitment and retention purposes. But you can see the map behind me is a little bit frightening, and I've talked to some of you about this before. But all of this, eastern Arkansas, southern Arkansas, it's red, and that's Senate districts. And when you start looking at red, that's when people are losing 10,000, 11,000, 16,000 people in a district. 12,000, 13,000. It's tough. And some of the cities in the intermodal footprint are dealing with the same thing. Our friends over in Clay County and Lawrence County lost people. And so, again, there's going to be a significant push for workforce development and retention. And the best way to do that is to be investing in our schools and to ensure that students have a positive experience, they feel supported, and that they want to stay here going forward. And I get a lot of people who ask me, like, when's the next company coming here? When are there going to be more jobs coming here? And we're frankly at a point right now where I would be doing the businesses in Pocahontas a disservice to be recruiting another industry here. It would be really tough because we would just be moving employees around and be hurting our existing businesses, and we don't want to do that. So again, focusing on education is the best way to do that. We don't want to exacerbate any inequities in our community. By investing in education, we know that it's not only going to be helping our business community, but it's going to be helping the people, and that those people will be able to reinvest going forward. So that's what we're really looking at. That map just scares me. I can't even tell you. COVID was unusual, but the communities who grew quite a bit, and those who didn't really, really lost. And we are just one step away from that. We are one census count away from that. And I would be not doing my job if I didn't stand up and fight for education every day for the next 10 years. And so that's what you're going to see me really beating the drum for, and working with our schools to retain these kids and to make sure that they've got a place in this community going forward. I also want to point out, and Lisa, she doesn't really brag on the school system as much as I like to, but this school does a lot with very, very little. Our kids are outpacing state performance standards on tests. Our graduation rates are high. We're sending kids to Ivy League schools like Harvard, and we're doing it at a fraction of what other places around the state are doing it. When I looked on the state's website, because they have report cards on ADE website every year, and they talk about what state spending looks like on average. On average, most schools spend about $10,100 a student. Pocahontas, at this time, invests about $8,400 a student, and we're still outperforming a number of schools around the state. And again, that's important to recognize that they've been very frugal with your tax dollars as citizens, and they've put back a good amount of money for this project, and it would be a shame to lose both the partnership funding and some of the money that's been put back for that. And in terms of partnership funding, there has been some back and forth on whether we'll lose it, why we'll lose it, can we reapply for it. We have confirmed that we absolutely will lose the $9.3 million at this time. And while we can reapply for funding, we no longer qualify for the amount of funding that we once did. We are doing too well economically at this time. We're also not seeing the growth push that we did 5 years ago with the entrance of PICO. And so you may receive some partnership funding from the state, but it won't be near $9.3 million. And I know this is a big ask. I know taxes are not low in the city, but that's always relative. And this is a huge opportunity that we don't want to waste. And quite frankly, our students deserve it, our teachers deserve it. There's a video that we're going to show you in just a moment about the state that the high school is in and what our teachers have to go to school in every day and what our students have to go in every day. And if it never rained, we wouldn't be having a problem, but that's not where we live. And we want to make sure that kids have the best facilities that they can, that teachers have the best classrooms that they can, because quite frankly, they deserve it. They deserve our investment. They deserve having a safe place to work and go to school in every day. And it's our responsibility to be investing in that. So I appreciate your time, and I'm going to ask that you vote yes on this issue. And I know that it's not a perfect situation, it never is, but between the partnership funding, the money that the school district has put back, and the historic lows on interest rates that'll be locked in for the next 30 years, we don't have a better option at this time. So I hope that you'll all kind of keep that in mind, and I want you to keep that map in mind when you go to vote for this, because we are so close to becoming what the rest of the Delta is. And once you get into that hole, it's really hard to dig yourself out of it. And we're just in a unique situation, and it's time to put our foot down and invest in this community if we want to see it continue to grow and prosper. So, thank you.
All right, as I said, we do have a video here. Let me get that. Oops, I keep going too fast. The video was put together, Coach Warrington and I put it together. We had the help of our assistant principal, Christian Helms, who helped us kind of piece it all together. And obviously it is not a major motion picture, but it is factual. And it tells you some of the problems that we have to deal with, but it doesn't tell you all of them, but I think you'll get a good idea of where our school is at.
Hello, this is Lisa Brew, Superintendent of Pocahontas Public Schools. I would like to share with you the needs for a new high school. First, safety is a concern. PHS has several entry points, which makes it difficult to secure the building while students are present. Keeping a check on people entering the building is not an easy task. It would be next to impossible to have people posted in these areas at all times. We lock all doors except the front main entrance, but sometimes doors do not close or latch properly, leaving the buildings accessible. We have worked on doors and locks, but they do not always stay in working order, or someone could prop a door without our knowledge, allowing for unsupervised access. Some students have to walk between junior and senior high for classes. We will house grades 9 to 12 in a new high school, which will provide more security as well as continuity for teachers and students. The main entry to PHS is confusing. The office is not easily located. Also, we do not always see people when they enter the building, not to mention lack of storage so things end up in the hallway. Breaker boxes are in the main hall and easily accessible by all. Another safety concern is the handicap ramp outdoors. It is not protected from the weather. Several years ago, the ceiling collapsed in some classrooms and the office. Metal braces are in place to try to prevent the rest of the ceiling from collapsing. The stairs to the cafeteria become slippery during certain weather conditions because of condensation. The older lamps are still in use and a working emergency shower has to be available. The shower is working, but it definitely needs updating. An elevator is provided for handicapped use and for moving items back and forth to the cafeteria. Those using the elevator are exposed to the weather. This is an example of one of the classrooms in the main building. Lack of electrical outlets is a problem. There are classrooms in the main building with only 2 electrical outlets. In our world of technology, 2 outlets are not sufficient for a classroom. Teachers need outlets for computers, monitors, speakers, document cameras, and more. Several items have to be plugged into one outlet. The outlet in the back of this room is where the Chromebook charging part is normally plugged in. There are no other outlets available. When it rains, the intercom system does not function correctly. The sound is constant on rainy days. Calling classrooms or teachers using the intercom from the office is not possible. We try to have it fixed, but the parts are obsolete. This is a safety concern. Handicap accessibility is also a concern. The school is handicap accessible. However, getting from one point to another takes thought. There are 3 levels with stairs in the main building. Someone may have to go outside to use a ramp to gain access to the various levels of the main building. For handicapped individuals, access to the cafeteria is by elevator only. Also, there is no storage for items used daily or weekly in the gym. The areas at the end of the bleachers fill with these items during basketball games, leaving little room for wheelchair access. We are in need of more space, less cost of upkeep, and definitely updated facilities. Classroom square footage does not meet the state requirements for current classroom size. The office is short of space as well. Most mornings you will find it full of people. Lack of storage space means that boxes find their way into the office until it can be moved to other areas. The principal and the assistant principal's office are small, making it difficult to hold family conferences or small group meetings. The teacher workroom is used for a variety of things such as meetings, copying, the teacher's printer, staff lunch area, mailroom, custodial computer access, and more. It's not large enough to serve all of these purposes at once. The life skills room is used to assist students as they learn to care for themselves. The library is one of our larger rooms. However, it is difficult to bring classes to the library as the space is not large enough to accommodate 25 to 30 students for a class setting. We also use it for professional development for faculty, and it's not enough adequate space for a true working environment. The career coach's office looks bigger in this photo than it actually is. Some IT equipment is located here, and it was previously used as a storage closet. Storage is a problem in the cafeteria as well. The cafeteria cannot accommodate all of our students at one time. Students fill the cafeteria, and then the overflow students pick up their food and take their food to either the study hall area, the gym lobby, or the courtyard, weather permitting. The nurse's office should have a restroom, but it does not. Since COVID-19, we now have to have isolation areas. We created makeshift isolation areas, but need something more permanent with additional space. The counselor's office is used for testing purposes and for a variety of meetings. The old 7th grade locker room has become a storage catch-all for a variety of items. Leaks are a constant concern. They are repaired, but they return or they show up at a new location. When it rains, water leaks into the gym and down the walls. Repairs are made, but leaks often return. In the older portion of the math science hallway, leaks are common. This classroom actually had a ceiling tile fall in during the excessive rain. Water seeps into the floor between the buildings in the older math science building. The coach's office under the cafeteria is a constant source of water problems. After a rain, mud and water wash into the office. In the center of this photo, you can see where a repair has taken place that runs across the parking lot. The water pipe had to be replaced, like others, because of age and brittleness. When it rains, the bucket goes up to this spot in the cafeteria kitchen. The roof has been repaired so many times over the years that there are multiple layers. It is impossible to pinpoint where a leak originates. The water enters somewhere and then works its way through the multiple layers to arrive at this spot. The wall of the gym leaks inside the building when it rains, as well as the drain clogs and water seeps into the locker room. Gas lines have to be repaired on a regular basis, which leads to additional costs. As you can see here, concrete had to be replaced as well. Classrooms are having issues with floor tiles. Paneling needs to be removed from the Family and Consumer Science buildings and the rooms and offices in the main hallway. The awnings that cover the sidewalk to the junior high have created some issues with erosion. Mud accumulates in low areas. Foundations are a concern. The gym floor has had some separation as well as other needs for repair. The dots are where repairs have been made. Restrooms are in need of updating throughout the campus. Urinals are very outdated. Replacement parts for newer sinks are hard to find. Believe it or not, parts for some of our older sinks are still available. However, water flow is not that great. The older labs are still in use. The new labs are used as classrooms, so the older labs have been a great help. We are just out of space. Water fountains are going to have to be replaced. After COVID-19, we have to have water bottle filling stations. This is the custodial closet in the main hall. Again, microstorage is an issue. We also have exposed pipes. Custodial storage under the cafeteria stairs has water inside when it rains. It will run down the steps and into the locker room area. Spaces that house inoperable furnaces and boilers temporarily accumulate items. The shower in the locker room under the cafeteria has a drain that corrodes away. The intercom system is old and does not work properly. Most cover the intercom because the original cover room has also worn away. We had to use an intercom during COVID-19. Staff had to go back and forth to the door to assist people. Security is more of an issue today than it was when these buildings were originally built, so a gate had to be installed.
That works. This is Mr. Carter's building, so. We got it. That's all good. All right, so anyway, I hope that video helped a little bit as well. If you have any further questions, we do have people here who maybe can help answer some of those, and we are always available if you have any questions. And as I said, early voting has begun, and it is through September 13th, and then September 14th is the election day. Any questions? Yes, sir. Hang on, I've been told to do this.
With the current capacity of the new design, how much growth based on that population will we be able to achieve?
Todd Welch is our architect, and we also have there's Nathan from NAFODS here as well, who may be able to help address some of these.
Is the question how many students will this school be able to hold?
Versus what we have now,
We have not
population.
We have not done any kind of study like that, but the growth that was projected by there was a study done, and it looked at how many new students would be moving into the area with the Pico plant coming into town, and we designed the school based on those projections of the growth. So I can't tell you exactly how many kids would fit in the school above and beyond what we currently have, but it meets the needs of the projections of the studies.
The classrooms, we have, tell how many classrooms we have.
There's 30 classrooms in the new school. I think there's about 15 now. Once the 9th grade moves over, there's still going to be, the amount of kids that will be in the classrooms will be less than what's in there now. So there's a room for growth in each classroom. So probably none of the classrooms will be at maximum capacity, probably for a number of years. Does that help answer your question?
We could get you those numbers.
Yes.
I was just. The design is
Yeah,
based on a projection, and to give you those exact numbers, we don't have them, but we can't get them. And I'm not exact, I'm not asking for an exact number, but I appreciate it.
Yes.
I'm simply trying to get a grasp on this projected building structure, the design of it, surely will hold X number of people as a population.
Yes, sir.
Students. So with today's population, are we looking at being able to grow so many percentage points more? I mean, what is this getting us for future growth?
Yeah, those numbers we don't have on hand, but we can get them to you somehow. I can get you those numbers. I don't have those reports in front of me. But like I said, the school was designed about around a report that was, you actually are not growing quite as fast as that report that was done about 5 years ago. So I'm confident that there's going to be plenty of room in there for quite a while. I can't say that in 20 years you might not need to add on to it, but yeah,
I expect that.
definitely 10, 15, 20 years, it should be plenty big.
One more question.
Beyond the building, as far as being able to reuse any of the furniture, et cetera, whatever you want to call it, building, will it have everything brand new, in and out, furniture, et cetera? Can you reuse anything that's already here?
One thing that we've done over the years is, and that's a very good question, one thing that we've done over the years is every year we have, in the past 6 years, we have purchased at least 2 classroom sets of desks. And so we've slowly replaced the desks in the classroom. So yes, those, we would want to store those temporarily while the new school's being built, and then we want to move those over. We have some other shelving units that were built that we would also carry over. So security cameras, we're planning on also moving those over. So there are some things that we are going to move from one place to the other.
I have a couple of questions, and they're 2 different areas. So, one thing I've heard that I really don't know enough about is, I know that it would seem that, generally speaking, chicken farmers are against, real concerns about the millage and how it's going to affect them. Do y'all have any idea what it's going to do to a chicken farmer? I mean, what we're really talking about?
Oh,
It's all relevant on the size of the chicken operation or the poultry operation, depending on how many houses and their assessed value, just like she was showing you a while ago. $100,000 assessed property value will increase your property taxes by $68.80 per year. $1 million poultry operation, the assessment on that would raise those taxes $688 per year. So it's all relevant on how many chicken houses they have, the assessed value level, how much they depreciated. So, it's that can all be looked up on their tax records and their assessed value. Does that answer that? Do you have another question?
well, I just don't know how much a chicken farm is worth, but that's fine. I mean, a poultry operation,
answer,
to take just
they're all
one
different.
or
Some
something,
people
they
have,
are different.
some people have 2, some have 4, 6,
Okay.
10. There's okay.
Okay, what, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Chad was saying, I think on the broiler operations, those houses are assessed at about $150, or $150,000 a piece.
They'll go up about $150.
Oh, $150 a piece. Okay.
Okay.
Per house.
The other concerns that I have heard, and that I just would like a better handle on, is that I have heard that, it's just so expensive. It's just too much, like per square foot, per, whatever. And I know that we have standards to meet, but can y'all explain what some of those huge costs might be that really raise that?
Oh,
This is Nathan Anthony. He is with Nabholz, so he can answer that question for you.
Thank you. So, I know a lot of people tend to look at square foot numbers, and we call it unit pricing, and that can vary widely depending on how you look at it. But one thing to consider with what this project is costing on this campus is the fact that we also have to go into some of these buildings that are from the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s. There is asbestos we do know of that we have to abate, so there's a cost there. We also have in the budget that we've been providing the cost of all demolition associated with those buildings. Site work is also included in that. So a lot of times people want to look at it and compare it maybe to building a house, like you see people building houses now for 150 and up a foot. But this is a commercial building, and Todd can also speak to this. Buildings like this are designed around the International Building Code, and they're also designed around what the state facilities requires. And so sometimes that pushes the cost, the type of building that you're getting, it's actually more expensive than what you would be looking at if you're trying to put it apples to apples. That's a very difficult thing to do.
okay.
Does that answer the?
Yes, so we're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars more
than if we were just building it on a site that was,
Well, yeah, I
that
mean,
was there. So
even if you were building on a site that's brand new, like, take demolition and all that out of the factor, you currently have the land, so you would have that cost associated, maybe not in construction, but obviously that would be a cost that the school would have to bear as well.
And also, if you have a building like this, if you have a new building like the elementary school here, you have tremendous utility costs to bring to the site. A lot of the roads had to be built. So there's costs when you have a brand new building on a new site, and there's costs when you demo a building and build on it. I can't tell you which one would be more, but I think it's a wise move to build where you are because of the track there, the parking's there. There's a lot of things you can reuse.
thank you.
Any other questions? Well, if there are no other questions, as I said, we do want to thank you for your time and for being here. And if anyone would like to see this new building, and if you have not seen it, like I said, we are more than willing to take you around and let you look and see it. So thank you again for your time, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I can't say that. Can I? No, you can't.